I think a certain group of people are still desirous to go and sit together in the dark to observe an act of art which is called theatre, and what has brought them to that I'm never quite sure. It always seems to be a bit of a miracle.
There are two ways that theatre is going to survive into the technical age. One is to do huge scale productions which aren't about digital stuff or lasers, but which are about big spaces and an actor's energy filling a huge space and cleverness. And the other way is to do very small scale productions, very audience sitting as close as you and I are at.
I mean, if you're concerned about things, you know, or if you've got actors doing the marketing as well as doing everything else and the director doing the producing, I mean, these things sap your creative energy.
To be honest with you, I think it's the nature of the silo that allows people to experiment, that brings out the originality.
I guess it's the ownership. You can create your own ownership of a piece, and also you have license to do whatever you want.
It's so strange because sometimes you're in the middle of the work and you're just thinking, why am I doing this? I'm not making a cent out of it. I'm working my ass off. I'm having to waitress and be on the dole to survive, but it's just something you love doing. And what I love most about it is that we're making it ourselves.
Well, I think Theatre Corporate developed an audience by saying there are no rules to what theatre is or what form it can take. Our major thing was to be experimental and to do new works and be experimental, you know, and to bring in as much culture from New Zealand and European culture as well.
Silo is very much a beast unto itself. Okay, this is the foyer and bar area of the theatre. This is basically the first thing that people see when they enter. At the moment we have 2 volunteers, technical and administration. But they come in as and when their jobs allow, because they both work pretty much full time. So they would probably put in, I would say, at least 20 hours a week. Well, I just do everything else. About 100 hours a week.
It became a place where the actors were, you could touch them, you could smell them, you could, you know, you were next to them. And so it became something more accessible, and I think that people miss that. It's why the smaller venues are very popular still in this city.
The silo is fantastic in terms of being cheap. For you know, when you've got no money and you want to continue working, so you're not just being an out of work actor waiting for the phone to ring or for your agent to call you. You can continue to create.
It's a fantastic concept, but it's not ideal in terms of the space inside of what you can do with it.
It's so not practical.
Something that needs to be really looked into is a better venue than the Silo Theatre, which is the most, you know, a difficult space to be creative in.
We couldn't do this anywhere else. Like, there's nowhere else in Auckland unless we did it in a community hall, and then you have the problem that audiences won't go because it's not an accepted thing here yet. But without the silo we wouldn't have been able to do it at all.
Yes, it is limited, but it's only limited as far as your imagination can take it.
I think young artists and playwrights and directors deserve better than that, and we should see as a community that we provide better than that for them.
One of the things when the Mercury closed is that the market and the industry were thrown into chaos.
Before the Mercury fell over, Caroline Hutchison, Don McGlashan, Harry Sinclair, me, the Top Twins, we'd already sat around saying, wouldn't it be good to have a venue where we can just do stuff? We'd already started. In fact, we'd had some performances down on the waterfront in Shed. I can't remember what shed it was. It's not there anymore.
The watershed, if you like, which was I guess, as the silo was to the Auckland Theatre Company, the watershed was to the Mercury. By definition, it was a watershed to the Mercury, a place where different types of material could be worked on and presented. Younger artists, more ability to take risks, to fail, if you like, just get a start, basically.
Our intention with the watershed was to kind of balance what was no longer being balanced.
All of it is driven by passion. No one in here expects to make money. These girls will probably break even, and they're rapt about that.
Unfortunately, it dissipated and left a gap, and I believe that's where kind of the silo is at the moment.
When the watershed closed down, the theatre underneath it, the basement theatre, which was started by Sharon Duncan, Katrina Chandra, and Will O'Neill. Sharon Duncan and Katrina Chandra went from the basement to the silo.
If you do it yourself, you have to love it. You know, there's no point showing anybody something that you don't love.
It was the drive to do as much and as many and as varied and as different and as powerful as we could all the time.
I think it's an imperative that the silo exists. It's a necessary thing, I think, in the continuum of the industry in Auckland.
The fact that we allow young artists to come in and experiment and devise work allows us to be, in Auckland anyway, then basically the #1 theatre that creates New Zealand work.
It's very hard for them these days. Everything is a battle, and while we know good things can come out of battles, good things can also come out of being subsidised and being looked after and being nurtured.
Because it's what they do, it's their art. And if we can help that, and if we can assist that in any way, then that's our job done.
It just feels really, really good to know that what you're doing is appreciated, and you do the work, and then the people come, and that's what theatre's all about. So it's fantastic.
This show in particular, it's been word of mouth. A lot of it has been word of mouth. So last week, our performances, we had maybe 20 people, and then tonight to have a full house. And last night to have 50 people even, you know,
It's been
on a
great.
Wednesday, and you know, it's great.
Yeah, it's good. And we've had no budget for any publicity this week at all. We've run out of posters and postcards. There's been nothing in the Herald, and so it's just been relying on...
Nothing in our pockets. Just praying we'll break
Just been
even.
praying the whole time.
Please let us break even.
Yeah, that's great.
But we will.
Yeah.
We will after tonight. Yeah. So
Yeah, we're going to make money from this one.
maybe $50.
Yeah! Have a beer!